Welcome to another trip down the Bourbon Road with your hosts, Jim and Mike. So grab a glass of your favorite bourbon and kick back.
Hey, this is Big Chief, and you're listening to the Bourbon Road. You know what I love to pour in my old fashions is a little maple syrup. Can't be just any maple syrup. It has to be from Seldom Seen Farms up in Ohio. He takes bourbon barrels, pours his syrup in there, and ages it for 6 to 9 months, making for some delicious syrup that you could pour on pancakes. You could pour it on waffles, chicken and waffles like this fat guy likes. But seriously, you want to make a delicious cocktail with some maple syrup and not that old simple syrup. Check out seldomseenmaple.com. Pick up some stuff from there today. We'd appreciate it.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Shannon.
And I'm Mike Hyatt.
This is the Bourbon Road. And today, Mike, we are on the road again.
Yeah, I think seems like I was just downtown this morning. Oh, yeah, I left work from downtown, drove to Shelbyville, got a couple hours sleep, and drove back into Louisville. But we are at a brewery.
Yeah.
A little change for us, change up. But we've been talking about this episode, Jim, for almost 3 years now.
I know it. It seems like we've got so much to get to, and it all seems important to us. Yeah. But it's hard to get everywhere and do everything. And, this is in our own backyard.
Yeah. So if you listeners, you wonder where we're at Goodwood Brewery in downtown Louisville. We're at 636 East Main Street. We're on Whiskey Road.
We are.
But we actually came in here not to drink so much beer. We're going to drink some beer, though. But we came in here to talk about Goodwood whiskey, right?
Absolutely. Pretty exciting stuff.
And we got two amazing young gentlemen here with us. We got Thomas Crockett and Quentin Nolan. No, that is not the famous Crockett or the famous Nolan. But they're famous in their own right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Well, welcome to the Bourbon Road.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you guys on the show today. Yeah, it's always great, Mike, when we can drink whiskey and beer at the same table.
It is awesome. And we're a stone's throw from the bar here. So listeners, if you hear some background noise, you hear some guests come in. We are in the bar. So we're going to have a live audience over here. You might hear Mel and Viv in the background.
They'll be here for sure.
Yeah. So, well, let's get to this. Quentin, what's in our glass right now?
In our glass right now is our Kentucky straight bourbon that has been finished in our bourbon barrel stout barrels.
A stout beer. So these barrels had bourbon in them at one time.
Yes.
Then they had stout beer in them.
Yes.
And then they got bourbon in them.
Bourbon in them again.
Wow.
That's recycling right there. That's best.
Yeah, we love the earth.
That's planet friendly. No doubt about it.
Yeah. What do you do with after it's done?
From there, we sell it on the secondary market.
On the secondary market.
Furniture makers, even home brewers like to get them and just try to do some funky stuff with them. But yeah,
I guess you could always throw beer in it again, right?
Yeah, we could because it's got whiskey in it already, so it's killed all the bacteria. So we could keep going if we really wanted to get to that point.
Just keep going, huh? Well, let's taste this sucker. Yeah. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, guys.
Now, this bourbon barrel right here, is this bourbon barrel from, I don't think it's any secret that you guys get your bourbon from Green River, contract distilled down there, right?
Yes.
Now, is that where the barrel comes from?
That's from the barrels come from as well. Yeah, we try to keep it in that family, kind of keep that partnership going. So we use their barrels to age our beer in and then send it back to them to fill their base bourbon with.
Mike, were we supposed to taste it yet? Or were we supposed to just nose it so far?
I just went ahead and tasted it.
Yeah. I mean, I did take a little nose on it, and I got that nice little creamy, little bit of kind of a chocolatey coffee note to
On
it.
the stout?
Yep. And then I just went straight for the taste.
And what do you guys get on it? Do you get some stout in that?
Yeah, there's definitely some
absolutely
more like roasty, chocolatey notes in there that we get from the stout that kind of differentiates from the base Green River bourbon.
I think that's nice when you finish a bourbon and it comes out something like this right here. It does give you a different aspect of whiskey. Some people are so close-minded that all they can see is Green River, right? That standard type of bourbon, right, Jim?
Absolutely. Well, Green River Bourbon's great. Like, we've been down there. We spent a day down there going through their distillery and sampling all their wares, and we have a great respect for their whiskey. It's good stuff. And this particular base whiskey, did you specify the age on this? Was this a straight before you started, or was it?
Yeah, it is a straight. It is. I believe it's whatever Green River's base bourbon is, and I believe they do a 2 to 4 year blend on theirs.
Got it.
So
Got it.
They don't have an age statement on their bourbon, so we don't put an exact age statement on ours.
But it's a straight when you start, which is good to know.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that means it's at least 2 years old, and they're bringing in some of that slightly older stuff to give it that character. But there's some nice notes that come out of that 2 year bourbon there too. So you put the two together, you get the best of both worlds.
So let's talk about Goodwood. When did Goodwood start?
So Goodwood started in 2014 when the group of investors took over what people in Louisville will know as a Bluegrass Brewing Company. It was a Bluegrass Brewing Company since, I believe, 2005.
I believe that's right.
Yeah. A new investing group came in and bought the rights to the production facility of BBC and then rebranded to Goodwood.
Tell us about both of your positions here at Goodwood Brewing.
Sure. So I actually came on beginning of August. I was in the the freight brokerage industry and came on to be the VP of logistics here. And I also do bourbon sales as well. So I had some experience in the freight industry working for customers, and now I've kind of switched places and I am the customer and working with other freight brokers, and it's been good to already kind of have an understanding of that industry and be able to utilize that here. A lot of our distributors kind of they handle that on their own. They'll send the trucks, and so we don't mess with that. But there are some distributors, probably 25-30% of our distributors that want us to deal with that. So they'll send us an order, and then we'll be in charge of going out and getting a truck and packaging it up and all that, and letting them know when it's going to ship, when it's going to arrive, that whole thing.
And what about you, Quentin?
Yeah, so I run the operations of what I would call like the alcohol side of the business, because we also have a restaurant operation at our other locations. And so here I do most of the alcohol operation stuff. So we have here the production site. I also oversee our brew pubs and the bourbon. So I get to deal with Green River and all those logistics and everything there. So
you get to decide where the product goes.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. So do you have a favorite store? No, I'm not going to push
the one that slings out free bottles for it. That's
exactly.
That'd be my favorite store.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some leftover stuff you need.
Yeah.
So when was the decision made? Hey, we're going to make some whiskey.
Yeah, I believe our first iteration of the bourbon was a really small run. I think it was only like maybe 5 barrels or so. And it was of a 12-year bourbon. And I believe that was like 4 years ago.
Yep. 2019 was kind of when we first decided let's get this going and see what it's like to get in that industry. And
how does that work? How did you make that work? What steps did you take to make that leap? What did it take?
Yeah. So actually both of us weren't around during that time. And so I believe what that was they just purchased some bourbon. They basically just got this whiskey from them in totes and brought them here and just put them in their beer barrels. And then eventually they found somebody, because we're not legally allowed to age and bottle here at this facility. So we sent it to I believe it was MGP who bottled it for us. And we then sent it out in the market.
Well, that's interesting. So, there's all kinds of facets to this business, and there's so many different ways to make it work.
Oh, yeah.
You don't necessarily have to be making this stuff yourself. Sometimes, like you said, you can't age the product on site.
Yeah.
But you can receive it in totes, but you can't bottle it. So there's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of rules. So that's pretty interesting. So I guess that first round of things went well enough that they said, let's do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think once that first one went out, it sold a decent amount. And then our owner decided, yeah, let's do this again. And he did a bigger run of both the bourbon barrel stout and the honey. And we got that from MGP as well.
Okay. All right. Mike, what'd you think about the whiskey?
I drank it all.
Mine's gone too.
I've got one sip left here.
I like it. It's different than like a port finish or, a wine finish or a Madeira finish or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It just has a different base to it. More creamy, I think, than those. Yeah. Not as tart.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of a much bigger fan of like a stout finished whiskey than I am with a bourbon barrel finished stout. So, everybody's got what they like, where they kind of gravitate towards. But I love the flavor of this. I thought it was, I'm not going to say it was subtle, but it wasn't overpowering.
Right.
So, the right level.
It's a very cool, I think it's a very cool concept that we went with. We're known for our bourbon barrel stout. And so we knew that there was a potential market there for us to get into that was exciting for our distributors and for our customers. And, it's worked out really well for us. We're really excited for the future.
So Jim, I'm going to move on here. I had to get some whiskey in my glass.
Yeah. So what did you move on to?
So we're going to pour some of their straight rye whiskey. It's called English Mild.
I see a green label.
I know. I told somebody that the other day. I said, "Do you see all these green labels? That's rye whiskey." And they're like, "No, it's not." And I was like,
"It's the unofficial color."
There's a few that break that rule, though. We've seen a wheat whiskey out of Georgia. It's got a green label, so
it does. It's confusing, right?
It is.
Here, let's get everybody a glass.
So you get to taste all the whiskey when it comes in. Are you part of the blending team too?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
All right. And do you guys, when you do that, do you have kind of a panel of tasters?
Yeah, it's usually it'll be Thomas and I for sure, our owner Ted, and Jason, who's our taproom manager here. He's got a good nose on him as well. So we do like to have multiple people tasting it, so it's not biased.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we won't even label what it is, what the ratios are, and so we can. So like the weeded people won't say, "Oh, I like that one," because they know it's weeded, or the rye.
Mike,
the
you
high
wouldn't do
rye.
that, would you?
Yeah.
We don't want anyone playing favorites.
If I see a weed, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
I want to stick it in my pocket and walk away from everybody else and hide it.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's my profile, and I like that. But I'm looking forward to this. I already knows that it does have that rye aspect to it, but this is finished in a English mild barrels, right?
Yes.
What's an English mild?
An English mild it's a very kind of like amber ale. I would call it an amber ale here in America. It's English mild it's obviously an English style beer. An English mild is probably like your everyday beer that you would find at a pub in London. That's what the guys would be sitting around drinking in there. And we feel like this flavor had a really brightness to it that would go really well with the rye whiskeys. And so we're drinking this juice that's from MGP, actually. So this is our last run of MGP that we're doing, which is in this rye.
And this one's got a little bit of rye in it, right? The mash bill's pretty high rye on this one.
Yes.
Is it 95?
Yeah,
it's a majority rye. Yeah.
They've got a couple of mash bills there, but this one definitely is the high rye mash bill.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I didn't have to get it too close to my nose before I knew that. But.
And you guys are doing aging these about 4 months?
About 4 months, yeah.
Down in Owensboro, though, right?
Down in Owensboro, yeah. So we sent this rye from MGP to Owensboro and let them store it for us, and they bottled it for us and everything.
And their massive facility they have.
They have a huge facility down there. Yeah,
it is. It's shocking when you drive over there. You don't think it's that big, and then you go inside there, and you're like,
because it's not too far from like downtown.
Yeah,
when you wouldn't think that massive of a place is.
I'm always in awe when I see one of the much older distilleries, and you just realize how much whiskey our ancestors drank. I mean, they drank a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, a whole lot. You go out to Castle and Key, you go out there to Owensboro, you see these older distilleries, you're like, oh my.
I think you could hang with them though, Jim.
Think so?
Yeah. I don't think I could, but I don't know. I'd try, but I'd be hurting every morning. I couldn't get up and get behind some mules and plow some fields and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, imagine having a bar right below where you work.
There you go. There you go.
Now, how old is this building we're in?
I believe this building's around 200 years old. Like it's
one of the originals.
It's one of the original buildings in Louisville. Yeah.
Wow.
It used to be 6 stories high, I believe.
Really?
I think that's right.
And then it had a fire, and now it's only 2 stories.
And we're kind of between Nulu, downtown, and Butchertown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think officially on the map, our address is Butchertown, but we're close enough to Nulu that we partnership with all the businesses around here.
Yeah.
And we're part of that Nulu.
We call ourselves the Louisville Nulu location.
Yeah.
When we're referring to all 5 of our locations, we
Yeah.
refer to this one as Nulu.
I can see that. I think this is kind of Nulu. Garage bars right over here, right?
Right,
It is, yeah.
right
It's
at the
right on
corner,
the-
yeah.
Billy Goat Strut is
Yeah, Billy Goat Strut is right behind us.
right behind
That's
us.
our alley. Yeah.
You can walk to the High Horse from here, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I drove by the High Horse to get here.
Yeah.
One of my favorite little spots.
Yeah.
It's a great spot.
It is
When
a
my
good
wife
spot.
goes shopping over there at the, I don't know, what's the name of those stores over there? The ones with all the crafts and stuff.
Red
in-
Tree and
All that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll go to the High Horse.
Straight to High Horse.
But your bar in here is, I love it. Just the old brick, I'm set behind this gigantic post beam right here that's
Yeah.
who knows how old it is. I just love this feel in here.
Yeah.
You go back there, you see barrels stacked up, you see all your brewing equipment and stuff. It's a great place to come for a whiskey drinker. If you don't have a whiskey drinker with you that you're coming to Kentucky, what a great place to come and say,
Absolutely.
hey, let's get them some beer too.
Absolutely. Because your beers here are phenomenal. And hopefully we're going to get to try a few or at least one at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that our wives are either already drinking it or looking forward to having a glass here pretty soon.
Viv's halfway. I see her glass sitting there and it's halfway empty. So,
Yeah.
and I can hear her talking. So she must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
No, it's been a cool location because you've got the plant connected to us, the production plant, and so we were able to give tours. We have we have a private party area in the back where you can rent it out and do corporate meetings if you want, or birthday parties or whatever.
Do you guys stay pretty busy with people leasing it for parties and
Yeah, especially right now during football season. We're open late on Mondays for Monday Night Football, and we've been getting pretty good crowds there. And we had a couple private events last week and the week before, so we do pretty well with those. Jason, our taproom manager, does a great job with that.
That's awesome. So I'm sitting here sipping on this rye, Mike, and I'm getting the influence of the beer, but I'm not exactly sure what it's done to the rye.
To me, this one, where the other one was creamy and I said it wasn't tart, this one has that rye tart to it, like a green apple kind of.
Yeah.
It's not bitter. It's just that bite, a little bit of bite you're looking for, and maybe that English ale. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, for sure. So the English mild beer is a lighter beer. It's only like a 6% alcohol beer, which usually you don't see those barrel aged very often. And so, whereas like the stout and the honey, which we'll get to, has higher ABVs on them, they'll impart more flavor into the whiskey. But the rye, it's not going to give it as much of a impact like on the front. But yeah, you get that. I think what it does is it mellows it out a little bit. It kind of maybe takes away that's a real harsh spice from rye and kind of smooths it out.
That's what I was going to say. I think it kind of softens the rye a little bit, but is it adding those tea notes?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Like
adding.
almost like a Granny Smith apple.
Yeah.
Maybe with a little bit of clove to it.
I agree. Yeah. When you said green apple, I couldn't have agreed more with that statement. But
we do drink a little bit of whiskey and know those tasting notes. Our tasting notes, anyways.
You guys have been around. You know a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, just maybe a tad bit. We try.
So this is 90 proof. The one we had and started with also 90 proof.
Yes.
90 proof, yeah.
And then so that's kind of where you guys are at with your whiskey.
That's what we're
Yes,
going
that's
with.
where we're
Yeah.
at right now. Yeah.
all right. Good deal.
And what's the price points on both these bottles we drank?
Retail, you want to go grab a bottle at your nearest liquor store. They're going for about $60. We try to keep it around $60 a bottle throughout the country. Make it easy for everybody. So It was a little bit higher a couple of years ago, and we've managed to get that down towards a more reasonable price for customers, and it seemed to work out well for everybody.
You guys are pouring it at the bar here.
Yes.
You're pouring it at all your locations.
Correct.
Yes.
You're also a bottle shop?
We are, yes.
Okay. All your locations a bottle shop?
I believe the ones in Kentucky are. I won't say anything about Indy and Columbus just yet because I don't know, but
okay.
Well, let's talk about those locations. So you got one in Frankfort, Kentucky, right?
Yes.
And that's a lot bigger space.
It is a bigger. It's the rest of the locations are restaurant forward.
Okay.
Whereas we're beer forward, brewery forward, and so those places are going to have larger kitchens.
So if somebody's visiting Frankfurt, they're visiting Buffalo Trace, Goodwood's right downtown, a great place to eat down there.
We've done it several times.
Yeah.
It has been a great place, a great location when people go do that Bourbon Trail. They want to go have lunch, and our restaurant's right on the Kentucky River. We've got a great back patio that overlooks the river, and it's been great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about Indy and Columbus? Have you both been up there to those two locations?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they the same kind of aspect?
Yeah, they're very.
They're even bigger.
Yeah. Indy is probably our biggest. Columbus is probably the second biggest. They're both very event driven. So, especially the Columbus one, it's in what they call the Arena District in Columbus, and so they're right next to like where the Blue Jackets play.
And I'm sure being there that they probably have plenty of Ohio State fans.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
They do.
Yeah. And then Indy obviously has the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
So
It's,
very sports heavy.
The Indy restaurant is about 100 yards away from Lucas Oil Stadium. So it's in a great spot. And the convention center right there in Indianapolis too. You get all sorts of customers, and it's great.
Now, I love Louisville, and we got some great things going on here, and we do know how to party.
Yeah.
But man, those people in Columbus and Indianapolis, they know how to, especially when it gets cold.
Oh yeah,
they know how to throw it down, don't they?
Oh yeah.
There ain't nothing else to do. You can't go outside.
Yeah, it was really funny for the SEC championship. It was in Indianapolis, wasn't it?
It was.
And do you remember who played in that? It was
I don't.
Georgia and Alabama.
I think it was probably. Yeah.
I think, but it was a couple of years ago, maybe, or it might have been this most
The
recent
national
one.
championship was up there last year.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So it was the national championship was up there, and the teams that were playing in it were down south, and so you're in the middle of January, and so we rely a lot on to-go beers there in the Indianapolis restaurant, and so none of the customers were wanting to take beers to go because it was so cold.
Hey, their hands are
too cold, and they're these Southeast Conference people, and they didn't want to grab beers to go.
Oh my goodness! You have to sell a glass with a glove on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a pair of gloves with
Then we had
your beer.
Then we had that. What was it? An Iowa State game.
Yeah, then I think there was a bowl game that went through there, and it was like Iowa State, and
we killed it for those people.
Yeah.
They
love it. They don't care.
They weren't afraid of the cold.
sleeve shirts.
They're like t-shirts and shorts.
That's right.
Well, yeah, Midwesterner people are a little bit different when it comes to weather. But if you took somebody down south from Midwest, they'd be like, "Man, it is."
Oh yeah, they hate the
This
humidity.
is hot.
and
down
It's
there.
hot,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's hot. It's sweating hot. It's not that dry like Las Vegas hot. It's,
I know. You get down there in Florida sometimes, and people wonder why would anybody go north of Jacksonville? They do it.
well, if you like to wear shorts, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a different kind of weather, different breed of people.
Yeah.
I like it. But this whiskey, I think, is great. The first one was amazing. I love the finishes on both of these. They both have a different. You drink them at a different time, I guess. I think that first one was a nice before dinner. This might be a mid before dessert whiskey.
Yeah, and I think there's a season to them as well. I think
Yeah.
I think that stout finished whiskey is probably a little bit more of a cold weather whiskey, whereas this rye, for me, believe it or not, warm weather.
Yeah.
warm weather.
Yeah.
Yes, like
I'm the exact
spring.
way. I love our rye on an ice cube after mowing the yard. Like it's
Now let me ask you: have either one of you tasted these at like barrel strength?
yes. So when we get those samples in to do the blending and stuff, they'll send us the final product for our approval, and usually those final products are not down to proof yet, and so we have been able to try them at barrel strength before, and I would say that the beer flavor is about the same.
Yeah.
Honestly, it stays about the same, but yeah, they're much more robust in their flavoring.
What was the one that we had a couple weeks ago, about 120 proof?
Yeah, that was the Walnut Brown that we're coming out with.
The Walnut Brown, yeah.
Yeah, we wish we had it on the table today.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
That's all right,
I'm
guys.
sorry that
We'll
we
come
don't.
back.
It'll-
Come back.
Yeah, come
Maybe-
back in a month and
Maybe
it'll
we'll
probably be here.
see our listeners will see a review on the Bourbon Road
Yeah.
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it'll be out a few weeks. That's what we're
Maybe the
thinking.
FedEx man will show up with a bottle.
Yeah, or just go to any of our states and look around
Yeah,
the liquor
for sure.
stores.
So let's drink one more on this first hash, Jim.
Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and do this right here, the 3 Chord collaboration.
Yeah.
Oh, we're pouring this. Can you talk a little bit about the 3 Chord collaboration?
Yeah, so we like to not only just do our own bourbon, but we like to collab with distilleries around the country. We've done multiple collabs so far. We've done one with Chicken Cock. We've done one with Bardstown Bourbon Company. And our latest one is this one right here, which is with 3 Chords out of Michigan.
You're picking some winners there.
Yes.
You're definitely picking some
Yeah.
winners. Yeah.
Now, so for people that don't know 3 Chord, that's Neil Gerardo, and which is he just was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Along with.
Oh well, Pat Benatar's.
Pat
is
Benatar,
one.
yeah.
Pat Benatar.
I don't
This
think
is
a
a
lot
rock
of
and roll whiskey here. You
It
guys
is.
just made it a little more rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we this was a cool thing that we did. I think about 72 cases were made.
Yeah, super limited run.
Yep.
It's got a blend of a 6, 7, and 15-year bourbon in it. That is all 3 Chords.
Now, is this? You said 72 cases. That's about 2 barrels.
I believe so.
I think that
yeah.
sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just so our listeners know what you know,
size
the
of it.
size of it.
Exactly.
2 barrels of
Yeah.
this whiskey
Yeah.
out there. That's still not a whole lot of barrels for all
No.
the states you guys released in and stuff.
No, this one is just a Kentucky release, and it's in all of our locations. But I think market-wise, it's just in Kentucky and then just in Michigan where they're located.
Wow, this has got a tremendous tobacco note to it. Like
Now-
a really good tobacco note.
Now we just kicked it up a notch here. We
Yeah,
were
we
at
did.
90 proof. This is 111 proof right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
That's getting it.
Yeah, I really wanted this one to be at 111 to kind of go off that 3 Chords, the 111.
Yeah.
Ah, there you go.
So I really liked that idea. And when we tasted it, we did proofing with it whenever their rep was here, and it so happened we liked that. I can't remember exactly what the proof was. It may have been 112. We probably couldn't get exactly 111, but that's what we were. That was the mark we really liked.
Yeah, so 3 Chord is kind of one of our, I don't know, secret kind of. We've had them on the show a number of times because we get an expression from them and it just blows our socks off.
Yeah.
They're very adventurous and they always thinking out of the box with the stuff they do. So it's great that you guys were able to hook up with them here. This is a tremendous whiskey. I mean,
It really is.
I'm not going to say that everybody will like it,
yeah,
but very discerning bourbon drinkers.
You're big, bold bourbon drinkers
Yeah.
right here
Yeah.
that love that oaky, that tobacco. That's what they're going to love. And what barrels do you say this was aged in?
So just like the bourbon is a one-off bourbon, we also did a one-off beer for this. We did a really big, I think it was a 12% Russian Imperial Stout.
Russian Imperial Stout. Those are amazing kind of beers right there too.
They really are. Yeah.
That's a big chief beer. Right there.
That's a 4-ounce pour.
Yeah. Well, no, you could put that in a 16-ounce glass for me.
Yeah. Okay.
That's like 10 Coors
That'd be-
Coors
we'll
Just have
Originals.
to test that out.
I have to say, like I've said it before, but I've watched him sit down with 32 Coors Banquets and make them disappear by himself. I'm like, oh my God.
And drink some bourbon with that.
Yeah.
Had to have
one
something-
bourbon every 3 beers.
I had to have something to wash my bourbon down with.
That's right.
Got to stay hydrated,
Yeah. Well, hey, it's 3 great whiskeys to start the show out with. I love it. You guys having fun doing these kind of whiskeys and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think what this does is kind of branch us out than just doing our, core lineup. It really helps us get out there and do a lot more fun things to provide our customers with an all around experience, not just our stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And collaborations and guest tabs are kind of the way of the world in the beer industry, right? And to do those kind of collaborations on the whiskey side is pretty darn cool.
We're always interested in doing that. It grows the brand, and anytime somebody wants an exclusive bottling for something, we always want to look into that and see what we can do to make it beneficial for everybody. And it's worked out great for us so far, especially for the 3-chord.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. If you're in Louisville, Kentucky, and we still got another half to the show yet, but if you're in Louisville, Kentucky, and you're walking up and down Whiskey Row here and having a good time in downtown, you definitely want to pop in here and have a pour, have a beer.
Oh, if you have somebody, like I said before, that doesn't drink bourbon, that happens a lot. We find a lot of couples that come to their pilgrimage to the bourbon trail, and they're like, there's nothing for me to drink here. Well, you guys got a plethora of other beers to drink from. A nice bar here.
Yeah.
A great menu that we're going to check out after the podcast. We've eaten here plenty of times, so
good spot.
You can't miss out. But on the second half, they got us this honey barrel there, Jim.
I know. I've been eyeing that bottle. It's close to me here. I've been eyeing that bottle the whole time. And we're going to get to drink a little beer too.
Yeah. So listeners, just stick with us. We'll come back. We got Quentin and Thomas here, and we'll get that beer in our belly. Man, Jim, you know what I've really been enjoying lately?
Oh, you're going to tell me?
Some of that Seldom Seen Farms maple syrup that's been aged in bourbon barrels. It is absolutely delicious, not only in a cocktail, but you can cook with it, right?
You can. You absolutely can. Now, Mike, Kevin just sent me a new shipment, so I got a little bit more. And I've been making some beef jerky lately.
Really?
Yeah. Now, I know you're the meat master, but I tried my hand at it. I said, I want to make some beef jerky. And I've got a pretty decent beef jerky recipe. And it's got a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of Worcestershire, a little bit of, onion powder, garlic powder, those kind of things. But I always put brown sugar in it. Well, this time Kevin sent me a bottle of his granulated maple sugar.
Wow.
And I decided that I was going to substitute the maple sugar for the brown sugar. Oh, game changer. Let me tell you.
Total game changer. Huh?
Total game changer. Some of the best beef jerky you've ever had. So I'm going to make another batch here in about a week, and I'll be sure to get you some.
Man, that sounds delicious. Vivian took, and we just got an air fryer like most people got these days, right? And she took and soaked fresh pineapple in that maple syrup and then put it in the air fryer, and it kind of crisped up a little bit.
Oh, sounds good.
It was just magically delicious. And people probably wonder why we love it so much. Kevin competed in the Maple Festival last year, 2021, and he was named grand champion. That's saying something.
So Seldom Seen Farms, grand champion of the 2021 Maple Syrup Festival.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
You're going up against some heavy hitters in maple syrup. And I know we're talking about just the syrup, but, that's something to be proud of. Hats off to you, Kevin, for winning that. Kevin's also competing in a couple other competitions. Make sure you check out his website. Check out his social media on Instagram and Facebook. You won't be disappointed. If you want to buy something from him, where can they go, Jim?
You can go to seldomseenmaple.com. And Kevin and his crew, they've got a great website, very easy to navigate. They got all their products on there. You can buy their maple syrup by the bottle. You can buy it by the case. You can buy that sugar. Oh my goodness, Mike, that stuff is so good. And they've got some other gift sets there too. So you definitely want to check it out.
Well, he's also going to be in some distilleries pretty shortly here. Some distilleries that I love and I know you love. He's going to be down at Leaper's Fork. You can find a syrup down there aged in their barrels. Treaty Oak down in Dripping Spring, Texas. I was just out there. His syrup's going to be there.
Awesome.
And at Garrison Brothers in Texas, if you think you love some maple syrup, make sure you go to Garrison Brothers and pick up a bottle from them also. Kevin appreciated I know he loves people. You're supporting a local farmer, a local product, a small family. This is no factory place that's putting out maple syrup, right, Jim?
This is a good man doing good work.
Yeah, gotta love it. Well, make sure you check out his site, like Jim said, seldomseenmaple.com. Pick up a bottle today. So we're still here, Jim. We're still drinking. We're down here at Goodwood Brewing in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. One of the neighborhoods here is Nulu, and then another one is Butchertown, and then you got downtown. But we're kind of in the midst of all of that on Whiskey Row, in this old majestic building. It's nice.
A great bar, right on the corner of Main Street, and we got ball games on the TV. We got people in here having a good time drinking beers. You can probably hear them in the background. I always say you can hear them, but people always say, no, we didn't hear them.
Yeah.
but nice, lively place. Got a great big bar. They're serving beer. They're serving wine. They're serving cocktails. They're serving whiskey, of course. That's why we're here. And in the first half, we had 3 wonderful whiskeys that, I tell you, Mike, I'm pretty bowled over by it. Really good stuff. That last one, that 3 Chord, man, the tobacco notes in that were just amazing.
So what would you say to people that, they look on the shelf, they're walking down a liquor store aisle, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to take a chance on that. I'm not going to take a chance on that Goodwood because it's something different.
I'd say you better think twice. I think these guys have the craft in mind first, and they're really careful about what they're doing. And I think that it's very thoughtful when they talk about, the choices they make when they pair beer and whiskey together here, beer and bourbon. The choices are very thoughtful. They make sense. It's amazing how the rye was affected by the introduction of that English mild. It's amazing how the stout finished whiskey was, it wasn't overdone. It didn't spend too much time in the barrel. I think it was just right. So my answer would be give them a shot.
Yeah.
Stop in here, you have a pour, but man, you'll walk away with the bottle, I think, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So what do we got in our glass this time, Quinn?
Yeah, so this is the Kentucky straight bourbon that is the same as the stout finished, except this time we've put it in a honey ale barrel and finished it there for the same amount of time, the 4 months.
Now, how do you make honey ale?
Yeah, so what it is it's just kind of like your generic amber ale-ish, and we put 10 pounds of honey in it, and that gets fermented along with the grain sugars that we've created.
Now you said generic. It's not that beer in a white can with a black label, is it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's. I say that because it's just like it's like if I were to call it a beer, it's like an amber ale.
Okay.
Just a good, easy, everyday drinker. And we just add a bunch of honey to it.
How much honey?
10 pounds of honey.
10 pounds.
10 pounds.
And yeast, it just doesn't care. Sugar, right?
Sugar. They're going to eat every bit of it. So that 10 pounds of honey, along with the grain sugar that we've created, makes it close to 9% on the final beer.
Wow.
So this is not your typical honey finished bourbon.
No.
This is totally different. Well, heck, let's taste this sucker. Cheers.
Guys.
Cheers. I know you said honey, but man, I'm getting a little bit of like little maple syrup in there.
I'm getting a honey. I was reading the notes on this, and it says this is for old Muhammad Ali. There's no butterfly in this glass, though. It's not floating like a butterfly, but it damn sure stings like a bee.
It'll sting you.
Yeah.
This one's 90 proof as well, like your others. And the colors on all these are about the same because the whiskey's the same. The base whiskey's the same.
Whiskey's the same, yeah.
And again, another 4 months or so in the barrel.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. I get a light hint of like Swisher Sweet tobacco on this one. You know, that sweetness. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think there is a kind of a tobacco note in this one as well. And I'm just wondering in general. So for me, I love finished whiskeys, but I haven't had a lot of beer barrel finished whiskeys.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a trend here that, except in the English mild, wasn't that way. But the other ones, I've noticed that tobacco note. Is that kind of normal? Is that kind of something that you get?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely from just how the beer interacts with the wood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in this industry, it's just as much science as it is art. And so some things are kind of unexplainable. So just, I guess, the way that the beer interacts with the wood in our warehouse versus at Green River's warehouse and where they have it in their storehouses. Yeah. It's just...
Well, one thing's for sure. When you introduce whiskey into a barrel, you're doing it at, let's just say on average is 110 proof, right? 110 proof. So there's just so much water in 110 proof, about 45% water, right? When you introduce a beer, that baby's 90% water.
Yeah.
That can dissolve some sugars, right? Yes. That can dissolve some wood.
Absolutely.
Gets into chemistry. Water's all about the chemistry, right? So I think the beer definitely interacts with the barrel probably at a much higher rate than the whiskey does.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I like this right here. It is definitely something different. This one drinks more like a whiskey than the other honey ones I've had, maybe because it's honey ale, right? Lot more viscous here. It's just got that bite you're looking for in that whiskey and stuff, and I like that. Not overly sweet either. I was expecting it to be super sweet, and it's not.
Yeah, it's surprising though, isn't it? I mean, it's not. I mean, up front you get that initial sense that it's sweet, but it's not. But when it hits the back of your palate, it's a little drying.
It's not. It's not. Kind of all in your. It hits you in your face. It's tame, but you still can taste the flavors there, and you kind of know what we were getting at there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, magically, in the middle of our break, beer showed up on the table. And it's, some people would probably say this is motor oil, right? It's dark.
It's good and dark.
Yeah.
I mean, if those were whiskey pours, we'd be in serious trouble.
Well, that'd be some big. So what do we got here?
So this first one is our Walnut Brown Ale, which we use for our Walnut Brown.
This is the walnut.
Our Walnut Brown Bourbon, which is going to, release here in the next few weeks or so. So again, I'm sorry that we don't have the Walnut Brown Bourbon for you all to try, but hopefully this will give you kind of an idea.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's good that we give our listeners kind of a little sneak peek into the future, what's getting ready to come out. We don't have our hands on it yet. I'm guessing we'll get a bottle at some point.
Hopefully Quentin and Thomas make that happen. I think we
might be able to make that happen.
Yeah, we might be.
And so there'll be a review coming. But so this beer is an introduction to the whiskey that's on its way.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Now, do you like walnut brown beer, Jim? Have you had one before?
I don't think I've ever had a walnut brown beer. I've had many brown beers.
But stouts really, these dark ones really aren't your jam.
This is not really a stout, though.
No, this is a brown ale.
Brown ale.
This is a brown ale.
Yeah.
This is more like Newcastle, right?
Newcastle, yeah.
Exactly, yep.
But the way our fermentation happens here and the grain that we have chosen for this beer, it gives it kind of a nuttier finish.
Okay.
That's what we call it, the walnut brand. It doesn't have walnuts in it. For those people who are think they're allergic to walnuts, it's not going to kill you. That's just the flavor note we think we get out of it. Is just kind of that walnut nutty finish.
All right, Mike. So I'm ready for some beer tasting notes. We haven't done this in a very long time.
You're not allergic to walnuts, are you?
No.
I'm just allergic to mean women and hard work.
I've seen you work, man. I'm not sure you're allergic to work. He's a powerhouse.
So I'm sipping on this, and it's very tart. Not tart, but crisp. It is light and refreshing for a darker beer. For people that don't like darker beers, give something like this a try. It will shock you. It's got that crispness.
I'm really happy to report that it's not syrupy,
right?
Which is something that for me, it's not in my profile, right? It's not something that I'm after. This is really kind of refreshing, but at the same time, it's deep and dark.
Yeah.
Now, this is your guys' jam right here. This style of beer.
I can be all over the place. I'm happy to try whatever, but this is of this style beer, the best one that I've personally had, and this is one of our best beers.
Yeah, it's probably one of our most popular. And if I'm in the bar hanging out here, I like to come down on the weekends and just hang out with customers and stuff. If there's somebody here who's not a craft beer drinker, but they also don't want a light beer, they kind of want to get into craft beer, this is the perfect beer for them because it's like you said, it's lighter. It's easier. It's more approachable than like the one we're about to try here.
Yeah.
So is this one? Let me geek out for a second. So, do you guys do anything special with your water here?
We do. We add some salts to it.
So there's some Burton salts in here.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Maybe not your table salt, but definitely some. Some
Typical English.
Yeah, typical. Like we want our water profile to mimic whatever the style beer we're making. A lot of big breweries like your Anheuser-Busch's, your Sierra Nevadas, they have what you call reverse osmosis, which is where you can just plug in, I want Belgian water, and Belgian water pops out. Right. We have to add salts to it to create that, and so
that's awesome. By the way, I mean, anybody who understands what you're talking about, or anybody who's a big beer fan and has had a good ESB or some other English beer, understands the importance of I'm glad to hear that. I think that speaks for your craft a lot.
Thomas is just over here is like, I like free beer.
Who doesn't?
Thomas like, it don't matter what it is, as long as it's cold and it's free, right?
Yeah. You guys want to come on a podcast? Sure, free beer. Why not?
That's what my wife said is when we first walked in here, and your bar manager, he poured her a beer, and she's like, one thing good about your beer that it's cold. Cold beer.
Yeah. That's important.
That is important.
It is, yeah.
You can go over and ask my wife what she thinks about beers and the water, how important the water is. She'll tell you she's been educated on, I don't want to call it salting because people take it the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
But proper total dissolved solids.
Yes.
And it's interesting. It's wonderful. And I knew it as soon as it hit my palate.
Yeah.
I knew it. So cheers. Great job, guys.
You guys slow beer drinkers. I mean,
I gotta keep
I'm
up.
talking, man.
You gotta, whenever somebody else is talking, you gotta drink. This is the art of a podcast.
Yeah. You guys will notice if you look at our bar where it has all of the different drafts that we have, the Walnut Brown and the Bourbon Barrel Stout that we're about to have. Those ones are always available. So we've got the ones that we have the artwork on. Those are kind of rotators, but you usually can always get a Walnut Brown Ale and a Bourbon Barrel Stout.
Yeah. Now, this English Mild was your beer as well, right?
Yes, it was.
Is it something that hits the taps from time to time?
Yeah, from time to time. We've gotten to the point where that beer comes out when we need the barrels for bourbon.
Got it.
Reasoning for that, I mean, it just doesn't move as fast as we would like it for it to. But it's fine. People drink what they want, and so we're going to make what people want to drink.
So here's a question about kind of mixing that beer in that bourbon world. And IPAs have went through a rampant lately, right?
Yeah.
Could you make an IPA bourbon?
I haven't really thought of that, but I don't see. I mean,
would the hops overpower?
I believe the hops and the barrel may not interact well together because hops die really quickly. An IPA needs to be drunk immediately. Like I give an IPA maybe a 3-month shelf life.
Modern day IPAs.
Modern day IPAs, yeah.
Yeah.
You're really hop forward.
That's interesting, because the reason hops were added in the first place was to preserve the beer.
Yeah.
So the fact that it doesn't stick around very long it's the aromatics that go away, right?
The aromatics go away. Yeah. And that's the point of having an IPA is you want that good aromatic. I don't think that would translate into a whiskey.
Interesting. But I keep taking it down that.
Well, I was going to say IPAs, the reason they added hops to IPAs, from my understanding, was it's reason it's called an IPA, India Pale Ale, was because all the English soldiers that were in India, stationed over there, the beer they would ship English beer all the way to India.
A train.
Not on a train, on a boat.
Or on a boat.
It would get to India. It would change its complexity over that time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of big things in the bar world. One is IPAs and where it came from, and Mike just explained that. But the other thing is gin and tonics and where the tonic came from, right?
Yeah.
Same soldiers in India getting malaria.
Yeah.
They love to drink their gin, didn't they?
Oh, you gotta.
They had to add that tonic water because that's how they had to drink their tonic water. That was the law.
You want to stay healthy.
You don't want to get malaria. So they said, well, if I'm going to drink this tonic water, I'm going to put a little gin in it.
Might as well put some gin in.
There you go.
Well, I say that about COVID. I don't know. You know, you drink enough bourbon, you might not get COVID.
Now, Mike.
Yeah.
And you know, we're far enough along into this pandemic that I think you and I can fairly say neither you nor I have gotten COVID.
And I've been tested several times. I mean,
and you know, we're into this thing pretty far. I think you're onto something there. I think bourbon might have just a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. Vivian keeps wondering. She's like, "Why is that bourbon bottle near your toothpaste?" And I'm like, "That's my mouthwash."
All right. Full disclosure, listeners, we're also vaccinated.
So you got that. This is the beer right here. This is the beer right here that you guys are really famous for, right?
Yes.
Which is your what?
This is our bourbon barrel stout. And this is obviously what we use with our stout bourbon. We use these old barrels, and this Quentin can say more about this
so
beer.
This beer, what happens is we'll brew a batch of beer, and we'll put that whole batch into bourbon barrels. We'll put it downstairs here in our facility and let it age in our cellar for anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And then what we'll do is whenever we need bourbon barrel stout on the floor, we'll brew a second batch. We'll then bring these barrels back up and blend the two together.
Okay.
And the reasoning for that is, one, it keeps the price down, because if you've looked around for bourbon barrel stouts out on the market, they're really expensive and they come in those big bomber bottles and everything. We like to have it in our 12-ounce cans and in 4-packs, so we that helps keep that price down, so it's more approachable for customers. But also the drinkability of it goes super high.
Yeah.
It keeps it more mellow.
So you really don't need like 100% barrel aged stout.
No.
You got a mixture of it, right?
Yeah, you're still going to get your barrel aged notes, but
And that kind of makes sense. And for our listeners who don't know what a stout is, why don't you just give us a quick overview of what's a stout?
yeah. So a stout is it's a dark beer. It's pretty much black. It's really more of a kind of a ruby red color, but with water displacement and everything, it looks black and dark. And that is attributed to the different grains that we use, or different malts we use. So every beer has a base malt, and some beers have specialty malts in them. So take our Louisville Lager or a Coors Banquet. That's pretty much just straight base malt. Now this stout here, it's got base malt to give it the sugars for the yeast to eat, but it also has a lot of roasted malts, chocolate malts, crystal malts.
They toast them a little bit more.
They toast them a little more, yeah.
Dark.
Basically, like if anybody knows more about how coffee is roasted, it's essentially the same thing, where you take it, you dry the grain out, and then you just roast it.
And a well-known stout would be something like Guinness. Guinness is probably the world's best-known stout, right?
Exactly.
So
right.
you guys are working to get there.
Yeah.
Right? But, but Guinness has been...
Guinness has
been around for many, many years.
Well, but Guinness ain't putting their stout into bourbon barrels.
No, they're not.
No, they are not.
That's what they don't have.
No, they do not.
Yeah. So I came in here the other day, I had a beer, drink it, and this is what I had to say about this beer right here. So to me, for listeners out there, if you're looking for something, I'm gonna try to make this sound beautiful for you. I said it's very creamy with a nuttiness, hints of smoked baker's chocolate that's not overly sweet. That's that old school baker's chocolate. This is not a stout that's been aged too long, and the beer is the star of the show, not the bourbon.
Yeah.
It's light. General spice shows up at the very end. To me, this is the perfect beer with bourbon right here.
Mike, did you ever think about starting a beer podcast?
I was just about to ask if he wanted to go on the road and sell for us.
I sat in the bar and wrote that in I think 5 minutes, and your bartender was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just jotting down a couple notes about this beer that I really like." And I think that it showcases the beer.
Right.
Sometimes I think you could put a stout in a bourbon barrel and let it go in there too long.
Yeah.
And the bourbon has taken over that taste. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The bourbon will take over. You get very barrel tannins from it. It's really just very overpowering. And you have one glass of it and you said, that was good. And then you walk away and you may never have that beer ever again. This one, we really want everyone to just we want you to drink that whole 4-pack, you know.
And I've had some like that where I'm like, I drink that one and I'm like, that's a little too much for me. You know, it's too heavy or it's too dark. And I like those big boy beers, you know, like a French Farmhouse or something. Just super powerful. Now this is 8% right here.
It is, yeah.
A lot of people would say that's a big beer.
That's a big beer. Yeah. No doubt.
But for me, it's perfect. And I like that crisp on it. This still has that crisp taste to it at the very end.
Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised by the whiskeys and the beer, Mike. And I've had a few of these already, but you know, just to sit down and spend a little time here at Goodwood and go through their lineup, finish off with the beers here. Wow. Love it.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed. You guys have did an excellent job on your beers and your whiskey. Something to be proud of, something to say, and I'm sure both of you are every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. We enjoy coming into work, you know, which what more could you ask for?
It's tough, right?
It's tough.
Yeah,
it's a
really
tough,
tough life.
It's a tough life.
Now, I guarantee you, we've got some listeners out there, and they're 40 countries, all 50 states. They're all over. They're everywhere. Okay, you guys told me about this stuff, but where can I get it? So where can people lay their hands on your whiskey at?
So we are open for distribution in 12 states now, and that's only going to continue to grow. Currently, you can look in your local liquor store in Alabama, Arizona, California, Florida, Kentucky, Louisiana, Indiana, Nevada, North Carolina, Ohio, Tennessee, and Washington. Hopefully in the near future, we're working on Georgia at the moment. I'm going to try to get the South all completed.
Now, any online locations?
I believe.
Yeah, I think we have a online. Now it's depending on state and laws and stuff. But,
sure.
But yeah, we do have an online presence as well.
Okay, so look, if you're not in one of those states that they mentioned, make sure you check your favorite online Drizzly or whatever it is that you have, and see if the Goodwood product is on there. But so you are distributing online as well.
Yep.
Awesome. When people come out and they hit the trail, and let's say they're in Louisville, Kentucky, and they come here, or they're in Frankfort and they go to your Frankfort location, or what the heck, Columbus, Indiana. You got several locations around.
Yes.
You know, what can they expect to see when they come to one of your locations?
You're going to get an experience there at each location. And what I love about this company is that the experience at each location is actually kind of different. So, you know, here we're tap room forward, we have a small kitchen, so we have food, but we're very tap room forward, which is very alcohol driven.
So this is the Louisville location.
This is the Louisville location. Yeah. Frankfort has that good, just small town feel. Like, and you're on the river there, and
the balcony literally hangs over the Kentucky River.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Our owner's wife actually dropped her phone off the balcony, and he had to crawl down the bank to find it.
Oh,
yeah.
So
good husband.
Yeah.
Keep your phones close.
So yeah, keep your phones close. But yeah, and like our other locations, they're kind of very sports bar forward.
Okay.
You know, we got lots of TVs going, so you can watch the big game. Our menu is very Southern cuisine. We call it Upscale Southern cuisine. So it's going to be more, taking those classic Southern dishes and kind of elevating them. And also the beer and bourbon is in mind on those things. So come in, see what you want to drink, ask the bartender or your waiter or your waitress what's going to go well with this, and they'll definitely give you some sort of, pairing.
Awesome.
So we were talking about it, and you guys offered up a nice giveaway for one of our listeners of our bourbon Facebook group, the Bourbon Roadies. What do you guys got for one of those listeners?
I think we're going to give away one of these Goodwood honey finished bourbons.
Nice.
And then we'll throw in a hat and a t-shirt.
Hat and a t-shirt and a bottle.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
We aim to please.
Yeah.
You aim to please. I think that's awesome. So listeners, roadies, if you're not a roadie, I'm going to go ahead and tell you how to become a roadie. You want to join our Facebook group. You got to be 21. You got to like bourbon, and you got to get your play nice, because we don't tolerate any rudeness in our group, meaning we'll just kick your ass out. That's we don't sell in there. So follow those rules. Join our group. But to win this bottle, you got to invite 3 people to join that Facebook group, and you also have to tag Goodwood Brewing, hashtag Goodwood Brewing. We'd appreciate if you do that. I will choose a winner at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Wednesday night. So invite as many people you want to join that group. Just remember that we don't do any of that rudeness stuff. That means we don't do politics in there. We don't do religion. We don't do social issues, right, Jim?
Absolutely not. We stay away as far away from that stuff as we possibly can. There's a lot of bad vibes out there on the internet. We just want to be a safe place.
Yeah, there's enough division in America. We don't need any of that. We bring the people together with whiskey and obviously some great beer.
Yeah.
So
you come into that group, you drink what you like, you share what you like. If you're drinking from the bottom of the shelf or the top, you're going to get the same amount of love. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, great giveaway, guys. Where can our listeners find you guys on social media?
So I believe we're just at Goodwood Brewing on, I believe, all of our social media platforms. Board, just Goodwood Brewing, all one word. And so I like to keep it simple over here.
Yep. And goodwood.beer is our address.
Now, what about any of the single bourbon women out there that are looking for you, Thomas?
They can find me at our Louisville location. I'm here Monday through Friday.
They got to come to the store, huh?
They can reach out to me. They can
You got Instagram?
I do have an Instagram. I don't know what my my handle is. I'll have to.
This is your chance, man.
I'll have to tell you real quick.
Literally, 200,000 women are out there waiting right now.
My handle official, I have it now, is T_Crockett. That's with 2 T's at the end.
There's going to be some woman in the outback of Australia be like, "Yep, this is it. This is my guy right here. This is my guy."
That's fine.
And Quentin, what about you, man?
My handle is Q Nolan.
Happily married.
Happily married. Happily married, yeah.
All right. Well, Mike, where can people find us on the internet?
Well, you can find us at TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, obviously Facebook. We're there on Instagram also. Main place, like we said, was the Bourbon Roadies. Come in and join us. If you like to drink from the very bottom of the shelf, like a 10 high whiskey, all the way to the top of the shelf, like this Goodwood right here, grab a bottle of it and drink it in there. Tell us what you think. If you want to come in there and celebrate a birthday, a retirement, even a death of a family member, you want to raise a glass to that family member or a good friend or something, an old shipmate, in me and Jim's case, we want you to do that without any harassment.
Absolutely. Well, we do 2 shows every single week. Every Monday, we'll do a craft distillery episode. We'll focus on a single expression from a craft distillery. I don't know, maybe, just maybe, we'll have that maple whiskey here in the future.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a collab together.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Got us thinking about certain options. We're going to have to go discuss that in the conference room tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Every single Wednesday, we'll do a full-length episode. We'll go a full hour. We'll do 30 minutes in and 30 minutes out. We'll get you to work and get you home. Like we did today with these fellows from Goodwood. We had a great time drinking whiskey and drinking beer with these guys. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can look for it every single week. Mike, what do they have to do to make sure that they don't miss one of those episodes?
So, listeners, you want to scroll up to the top of that app, hit that check sign, that plus sign, that subscribe sign. That app's going to let you know, hey, these 2 jokers had this show come out today, and you need to listen to it like right now. Then you need to scroll on down, hit that 5-star review. Leave us some of those comments that we love, because you know what's going to happen if you don't. The big bad booty daddy of bourbon's going to come over to your house, dragging his wagon loaded with his Goodwood. He's also going to have some beer with him. We'll drink it all night long. You'll be smiling. You'll give us that 5-star review, those comments, I guarantee. But seriously, those reviews, those comments, they open up doors to distilleries. They get great whiskey on our hand like this Goodwood. We get beer in our hands like today. We get great guests on like Thomas, like Quentin. We'd really appreciate it.
Now, when you're out and about, it's inevitable. You're going to run into Mike and I. we're at distilleries. We're at liquor stores. We're at events. We're all over the place.
At breweries.
We're out on the Bourbon Road. So if you run into us, make sure you walk up and say hi, introduce yourself. We'd love to meet you. Love to shake your hand. Love to hear your bourbon story. We love our listeners. We love to hear from you. Make sure that if you have an idea for a show, if you've got an idea for a bottle, you reach out to us. Let us know about it. We'll do the hard work. We'll call the company. We'll interview the people. We'll make it happen. We'd love to thank our guests today for being on the show. What a wonderful day here at Goodwood Brewery, fellas.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate the hospitality for sure. Definitely love drinking whiskey with new friends.
Oh, yes.
And we'd love to do this again in the future. We hope you'll invite us back.
For sure, yeah.
Anytime.
Definitely. We still have that Walnut Brown coming. So.
Yeah, you gotta come
There
back
you
for that
go.
Walnut
There you
Brown.
go.
And any for all listeners, if you find yourselves in Louisville, Lexington, Frankfort, Indianapolis, or Columbus, come check out our locations. It'll be a fun time.
Absolutely. Awesome. Absolutely. Well, you can reach out to Mike and I anytime. You can reach us at our email address. I'm Jim at thebourbonroad.com. He's Mike at thebourbonroad.com. What we usually say, though, is just hit us up on Instagram. I'm JShannon63.
I'm Big Bourbon Chief.
And we'll see you down
the Bourbon Road.